Good morning, everybody. So excited this morning. I am reaching out to you all from the Microsoft office here in Washington, D.C. today. And we are going to talk about the PowerApps User Group with two of our awesome MVPs. Daniel Christensen that's here this afternoon, and Shane Young from PowerApps 911. We also have Sue Whitney from the PowerApps User Group. She's going to share with us the awesome tools that she offers to help leaders like yourselves grow your own user groups or join one of the existing ones. We have so much to talk about. I'm going to stop talking, get out of the way. Sue, would you like to you take over? Tell us where we need to go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone, and so happy to be here and share with you the value of the PowerApps user groups, both from a user perspective as well as from a leader perspective. So I'm going to share my screen here and take you through some awesome website tools and get us going. So the first place you want to go is the PowerAppsUG.com website. And as you can see on the site, I'm not currently logged in. Logging is easy, and if you don't have an account, it takes just a few seconds. So I'm going to log in right now
and
show you
your screen, Sue.
I'm sorry?
We're still looking at you. Don't forget to share your screen.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Share my screen.
Looking at you in the meantime, but.
All right, let me share my screen.
There we go.
Right.
There we go.
Okay, so let me go back here. Thank you so much, Audrey. So I went to the PowerAppsUG.com website, and now I'm going to log in. And as I said, if you don't have an account yet, it just takes a few minutes, few basic questions. It's free. You would sign up for free, basically put in your first name, last name, email, and your zip code. So I've already done that. So I'm going to log in, and I'm going to use my personal account so that I can show you how to actually join a group and find a user group in your area. So before we get to that, let's talk about what is a user group. So a local user group is a community of users that's located specifically in your geographic area. There's also an online component to the user group, but the user groups are super important because it provides a meeting place where you can meet like-minded professionals, you can get together, talk about the awesome PowerApps product, be a newbie, learn, or advance your skills. It's great to make these lasting connections, and also many of our leaders are so passionate about the product. Many of them are MVPs, PowerApps champions. They have so much knowledge that they want to share that it's a wonderful environment to become that PowerApps person in your organization and also make some really cool lasting connections. So to find a user group near you, you would click on Participate, Local User Groups. And this is going to bring you to a page that's going to show a couple of ways to find that group. And as you can see, there's a map and also a country listing down the left-hand side, some URLs as well, and then a full listing down at the bottom. So let's say I want to join the user group for my friends over in the UK. They are having their first meeting as we speak right now. So I'm going to click on United Kingdom, and here's their dot showing London. And I'm going to click on the link. And this is the online component of a user group. There is that physical meeting that takes space about 4 times a year, sometimes even more. Sometimes you have leaders that are sharing content on PowerApps and Flow. And we even have some groups in some areas that cover Power BI, PowerApps, and Flow. So there's a lot of great content for you to access. So here's the UK group. And as you can see, there's this blue button that says Join User Group. And that is what it takes to join a user group. I click this button, I get a pop-up box, and this is basically letting me control the emails that the community is sending out, because there is this cool little discussion area where users can share information with users, and I can control how I want that information sent to me. And I can say the Daily Digest, and yes, I want to join. And now I'm a member, and you can see it became 51. I'm now a member of the UK PowerApps and Flow user group. So I can scroll down here, and one of the cool things is I can see other members right away. And all of these members, the information that's being shown, that is controlled by each individual person. you have privacy settings where you can say, yes, I want other members to be able to see my information, or I don't want anybody to see my information. So this is all compliant and people choosing, yes, I want people to be able to connect with me. So it's
So,
very cool. Oh, go ahead.
question. Is this like where I can meet other people who are doing stuff in like Power Apps, Flow, and Power BI? Is like a networking opportunity here?
Absolutely. So if I click on James here, it's going to basically pull up his membership card. I can add him as a contact to my network, or click these and I can send him a message and say, hey, James, how's it going? You're a Power Apps guy in the UK? I'm going to be over in the UK. I don't live in the UK, but I can connect with him, send him a message, and we can start a dialogue. And that's how users can meet users.
Because I think sometimes I can kind of tell if somebody's in my industry, right? Like, so if I can see if that person's also in banking or that person's also in technology, it might be a good person to communicate with in addition to like my own leads for my group. I like that.
Absolutely. And I'm going to jump ahead on these tabs. I am going to walk everybody through these tabs, but if I jump to the members tab, I can even search by somebody. If maybe I met them at a meeting, or maybe I wanted to try to catch up with them. So I caught their company name. Oh my goodness, I really want to follow up with that person. I didn't get a copy of their business card. I can come in here and I can type in their company name and it'll do a search. And as you can see, here's another way to view, just clicking on this members tab. I can actually see their company. I can see what their role is, and again, add as a contact or send them an in-community message, similar to a LinkedIn feature where you're trying to connect with someone in LinkedIn and access,
cool.
different knowledge about them. So it's a very cool tool to have.
Yep.
And this is neat too, because you can see now Penny is one of the UK leaders and she's a bronze contributor. The more you interact in these groups, you can earn virtual ribbons that shows that I'm a bronze, or I'm a silver, or I'm a gold contributor. Or in the case of my coworker Jenna, she's a top contributor because she's in these communities a lot, sharing different resources and sharing ways that people can use this platform and interact with each other. So one of the other things that I wanted to show you was this discussion area. So this is within the user group itself. So these are all my buds that are in the UK group. I can talk to them. And this is all about users sharing information with users. Hey, what's coming up at the next meeting? How are you getting there? Are you going there? What do you want to discuss? And they do share some product information, but it's mostly user-led information to users. And it's a pretty cool environment that you can start talking to people that you just met. And it's meant to keep those conversations going in between those in-person meetings. In-person meetings are so valuable, even in this age of the internet, where everybody's on their phone or their tablet. Nothing beats that touch point of someone opening up their computer and saying, hey, check this out, look what I just did. And someone can sit right there next to you and jump in as well.
Yes, I love that. Yeah.
So one of the other awesome areas of this, and this user group right here, the UK one, is a relatively new group. It just got spun up about a month ago, and they're already having their first meeting. But what's also available in every community is this library feature. So this is an area where anybody, the user group leader, or anybody who's a member, I can post information in here. So I couldn't make it to the UK meeting tonight, but hopefully by tomorrow or the next day or this week, Penny or one of her other user group leaders will probably post the PowerPoint from the meeting. So maybe I couldn't be there, but I can still access some of the materials and still be able to consume some of that content that's being shared. And as you can see, there's a few other items in here. Somebody shared some information from the Microsoft Ignite 2018. They did a little recap. There's something called free assets, and I click on view. Well, what are those free assets? Oh, Darius posted some information in here.
Wow.
So some SharePoint logos and branding pages. So I can download this and I can use this information as well.
We had a user group yesterday in DC, and we had
Anton's group.
Pictures, and then I had a deck and Anton had a deck. So we would upload that here. And now even if they didn't make it that night, they could download it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we highly encourage everybody to do that because it just allows that information to be shared. And the more people get excited about the product and the more they use the product, the more they want to talk about the product. I know I'm hooked, hook, line, and sinker. I'm a newbie, but you got to start somewhere. Created an app that I needed, and I can't wait to create the next one. It's just very contagious, a very contagious environment.
We're all addicted. I think Shane talks about that a lot in his video. It's an addiction, right?
And it's a good addiction. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So one of the other areas that you'll want to go to in your local group is also this events tab. This is where you're going to find out when an event is happening. So you can see the UK group is off and running tonight. But what's really neat about this is that so I'm not going to click on that one because their registration obviously is closed, but look, they already have February planned out. What are they doing in February? Let me take a look. So here we go. They have their February meeting set up. They've got an RSVP, so I can sign up for this event. I can share the event. They've given me a little bit of a description. Oh, John's going to be there. That's pretty awesome. So he's a flow guy over at Microsoft and going to be great to share that information. And that's one of the good things, too, about this environment that we live in. There can be speakers there physically, and there can also be people Skyped in to share that expertise. And Daniel, I know you did that at an academy class. It was so very cool. You're going to Skype in Brian Dang from Microsoft. He went up to you and showed up in person. But how cool is that all of these experts can share their knowledge and come together to just make a much richer environment? So it's a good place to check for upcoming events. The UK group has events, it looks like, pretty frequently. Not every group may meet that often, but certainly each group meets at least once a quarter. So regardless of what group that you join, definitely get in there and check out the events. And then, of course, we looked at this earlier, the members. I can look and try to find someone that maybe, Keith Watling is a great PowerApps champion, but maybe I can't remember how to spell his last name. Is it W-H? Is it just W-A? I can put in the first name because I knew his first name, and bam, there he is. And I can click on this link, and this actually brings me to the bio that he's created. So I can see a little bit about him. He is a user group leader. And again,
he's one of our champions as well. Everybody, Keith is a big guy. Yeah.
I've got his baseball card right here, actually. I love those baseball cards with PowerApps champions. Those are so cool.
Yes.
So it's a great way to find people and connect with them. And then this last tab, if there was a volunteer opportunity for your user group, you would be able to click on here. Now, the UK doesn't have a volunteer opportunity right now, but if they did, it would be here. And volunteer opportunities can range from something as maybe they're looking for help with someone promoting it socially. So they create a volunteer opportunity to say, hey, does someone have maybe an hour a week that they want to push out some information socially? Then they might create that volunteer opportunity for someone to be able to come in and fill that spot. And it's a nice entry point into helping out their user group and maybe your next step to becoming a leader, which is a really good segue. So let me log out of my user account and log in with my other account, which gives me admin access as a leader would have, and show you how to take those steps to become a leader. As you saw previously on the map, let me head back to the PowerApps site and pull up the map again. This should be flipping over. Hold on 1 second. It looks like it didn't fully log me out. Maybe I didn't log in with the right credentials, so let me give that another shot.
Take your time. We're accustomed to technology on this webinar. We got people who get that idea.
Let me log in here. Make sure I log in with my work account now.
Yeah, and I was just looking at some pictures of that UK group. Speaking of them, it looks like it's, the room is full. They've got some big names there. That is I'm very jealous. I wish I was over there for that user group meeting because those guys are blowing it up tonight or today for them. But
thank you, Shane and Daniel. You're getting hellos in the chat. You don't see them, but everybody's reaching out to say hi. So give everybody a big hi too. They're excited to see you too.
Hello, everybody. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to see the chat. Go say hello on Twitter. I can follow on Twitter.
You can see Twitter. Excellent. Okay, so now I am all logged in back as a user group. What a user group leader, what their view would be. And I'm going to head back to participate in local groups to look at this map for a quick second here. And as you can see, we have probably, I think it's 28, maybe 29 different communities that have been launched. So there's a lot of room to expand. I mean, if I just click on the United States, we have a whole lot of space still to add more user groups. So say you want to become that user group leader. How do you do that? So your best bet, again, come to the PowerAppsUG.com site and log in. And then for me, there's a couple of ways you can get there. You can go to volunteer opportunities or the PowerApps Exchange. I like going to the Exchange myself. So I'm going to take you the way that I like. So I'm on the PowerApps Exchange. Looks very familiar to the communities that your local group has. And I'm going to click on volunteer. And now what I'm going to see are all of the volunteer opportunities that are currently available for anybody who's a PowerApps Exchange, anybody who's here on the site, anybody who's created that account and was able to log in. So I can add my profile, launch a group. Anybody want to present a webinar? We're always looking for those folks. I can put in complete a form with a topic that I'm interested in, put my hand up to be a speaker, sponsorship, looking for sponsors for different events that we have, especially local user group events, or to advertise, and also to support, here's your local user group sponsorship. So I'm going to click on this one, launch a new PowerApps user group. And it doesn't take a lot of time to complete this form. So I go to this page, and it's basically letting me know I have to be logged in. I am logged in. And it just gives a little bit of detail about what some of the benefits are to support a local user group. And I click apply today, and I get a pop-up box. And it asks me for my name, my email address, and basically some very generic information around where would the user group be, making sure that they'll meet in person, and maybe a welcome message. And then someone at the bottom would hit submit. And once that gets submitted, I get an email triggered to me to say, hey, someone's interested, check it out. And then the next steps around that is that I would reach out to you. And we would have a conversation just to be, hey, introduce yourself. I want to meet you. You want to meet me. Let's talk about the user group that you want to launch, and get off the ground and where that would be. If we already have a group in the area, we can certainly introduce you to the leaders. But as you could see on that map, we definitely have some areas that still need some populating. So we do provide a lot of resources. And speaking of those resources, let me flip over to a page that only leaders get access to. So if I'm a PowerApps leader, then I have a community of leaders here. And this is a great resource for the leaders. There's a discussion group. Again, this community is fairly recent, so that's why the discussions aren't maybe as robust as they're going to be, but still got to start somewhere. I can talk to other leaders. Hey, how did you get your first group off the ground? What do you know now that you wish you had known then? What was the response? How did you decide on your first topic? There's a lot of discussions that can take place in there. But one of the most important sections is this library tab. We don't just say, hey, launch a group, have fun. We are walking this path with you and want it to be as successful as possible. So we have a bunch of different documents out here. Leader training documents, how-tos to use different parts of the platform. We have monthly calls so that you can jump on and talk to other leaders. And on those monthly calls, we are so fortunate to have the support of Audrie, so fortunate to have the support of John Levesque, that we can bring in touch points with Microsoft, product people. Hey, what's going to be going on with the product? They're so generous with their time. So the leader calls aren't just about how to become a better leader, but we try to give you some product information as well, because we know that you guys love the product. And of course, meeting in a box. And there's some other documents that are in the process of being put up here, such as I want someone to really sponsor my meeting because I want to be able to, order a couple of pizzas or have some light fare, maybe some drinks or something in there. So I have some sponsorship documents that'll be coming up as well, so I can help you reach out within the community. We also help you with the venue. There's no out-of-pocket cost of any sort that we want anybody to have with this. So we work with contacts at Microsoft to see, is that office space available? Can we use it? If it's not, is there an organization nearby that might want to let someone use their conference room, or public libraries? We find that all of these venues, or even universities, all of these venues work as great meeting spaces. And then, of course, as a user group leader, I have access to the members of my community, similar to how the members have. So we just continue to work with that. But of course, I have a little bit different view sometimes, where I can go in here to my settings and I can look at members, and I can help people become maybe admins for the group. So there's a lot of tools that the leaders have in the background that they're able to leverage and be able to set up.
I love it. I used to in the past, I used to use Meet, and to see how much more features are here, it's like, wow, this makes it easier, and it keeps people in proximity with others who are doing similar things. And so
Yes.
the networking aspect of it, the ability to go see pictures and documents from previous events, even the leaders being able to network amongst themselves and kind of see, what are you doing? Some people might be doing raffles at the end of their user group. Other people might be doing hands-on workshops, and they can share kind of what's working amongst the leaders. And so I love it. So I think this is an awesome opportunity to bring together, the network of people worldwide. And on the call here, I just want to let you guys know, we've got people from Poland, Argentina, Colombia, Norway. I mean, they're all over the world on the call right now. And so to be able to see these groups light up on that map would be like, that would make my year, And I think we all would enjoy watching that growth as well.
Yep. And it's such an exciting time for people to be able to be that citizen developer, be that person that doesn't have a coding background, but they can build solutions to solve their problems and then share that journey.
Definitely.
One of the resources I do want to show for those of you who do want to become that user group leader, another big question that I hear sometimes, how do I find someone who could speak? I know about this topic, but I want to get into another topic. So I'm back on the PowerApps User Group site. So because this was the leaders community where I was at. Now I've jumped back to the PowerAppsUG.com site. And if I go to resources, it's not acknowledging me here. Let me refresh here. Under resources for user group leaders, there is a drop down for also something called a speaker directory. There it is. Sorry, just needed to refresh. So because it acknowledges me, I'm logged in up here in the top right as a person who's designated as a user group leader. I can click on speaker directory, and this is going to bring me to a great resource. Anybody who has put up their hand to say, hey, I can speak for you, will be in here. So say I want to put in, I want someone on PowerApps. I'm not even sure where to start, and I hit search. This is going to bring back a list of volunteers that have specifically said, yeah, I can speak on PowerApps. I can see their image, their profile, their areas of expertise. I can click on, let me click on. She's outstanding, and they are having their inaugural meeting coming up as well. And here's a bio, her areas of expertise, presentations. Maybe they already have a presentation that they can repurpose. Maybe they're not in your area, but they're willing to be Skyped in. So there's a lot of great resources. So we never want anyone to feel that, hey, I want to put my hand up as a user group leader, but I don't have the tools that are going to help me succeed. We are always looking to add to these tools. We are always looking to provide that support socially, reaching out, getting people to be part of your communities. So I would say definitely head out here if you're interested in being that user group leader. Go to participate, exchange, and fill out that volunteer. And if you're not quite ready to take that step, well, just come out here and find your local user group and get involved. It's absolutely fabulous. I love my Boston group up here. I'm up in New England, and I've been involved with the CRMUG folks. I've been involved with the SharePoint meetup, and I'm thrilled that we're now getting a PowerApps and Flow user group up there because it's just.
That's my hometown, by the way. I was raised in Massachusetts. Born in Providence, but raised in Massachusetts. Yeah.
That's awesome. So that was what I wanted to share with you all today, and I thank you very much for your time. And Audrie, I thank you very much for providing me with this platform to just share some of the great benefits and the value of being part of the PowerApps local user groups.
We so appreciate this platform and everything that your team does, because you're empowering our leaders. And we do have a lot of leaders. There's a lot of people out there, they're loving PowerApps. They want to share, they want to show, they want to help. So thank you, Sue, for giving them a platform. I love it.
There are 56 leaders right now, actually. There are 56
really?
leaders right now.
Wow, let's double that. Let's do more. Yeah. I think we'll be excited. Do you want to introduce Daniel and Shane's parts?
Yes, I would love to, love to. We are so fortunate today to have Daniel Christian and Shane Young bring their PowerApps Shoot-out to this virtual environment. So Shane and Daniel were both at our Power Summit Phoenix this past October. And they had a packed room during the session where they were showing different uses of PowerApps and really, for lack of a better word, one-upping each other. You know, game on. Who's building the better mousetrap? Who's building the better PowerApps? And it was so exciting to feel the energy in the room and to just see some of the cool things that they were developing. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now so that Daniel, you want to kick us off?
Wait, so sorry, Sue, before we let you go, what I wanted was, so you're one of the people I now brag about. So when we were at Power Summit, Sue said, you know, I've finally been in enough of these PowerApp sessions. I really think it could help me. And so Sue, who is not an IT person, who is not a developer, who can't even pretend, probably can't spell IT. I don't know if she's that smart or not. But Sue said, you know, I'm going to make an app. And Sue built her own app for answering the most common questions she gets. And so, Sue, what I would love is if you'll spend like 2 minutes of my time, I'm giving up my own time here. I want you to share your app and show people what you built to empower you. And then your whole team got so excited for. I'm putting you on the spot.
Great idea, Shane. That's a great idea. Let's look at Shane while she goes and gets her app. Yeah. Let's check out Shane's room. Oh, wow. Love that room. I've seen it before in your video. Do you collect, tell us what you collect back there, Shane, while she's going to get her.
Okay. So I try to kind of keep it fresh. And so one of the things that we realized, so I had Halloween stuff up there, but when I got to be November 1st, we hadn't done a Christmas thing yet. You're like, well, it's November. You shouldn't have. But all the retailers started doing Christmas in like September. So I felt like I was behind. So now I'm switching to a Christmas theme for the next 2 months to try and catch up.
I love it. I love your space. I have to come and visit you one day and see your space because it's always a very creative looking space. Like I can imagine a whole lot of thinking going on in there.
Yes. Well, and so when Brian Dang was in town for the launch of the Cincinnati user group, he actually came in here. And so I've got some video content that he made that I'm going to sneak into one of my videos with Brian pointing to the logo and, you know, kind of playing it up like I do in my videos. So Brian wanted to do that. Now, what's really funny though, is if you guys know Brian.
So you can share a screen whenever you're ready. I'm watching for you. Go ahead, Shane.
I had shared it. Let me see here. Share my screen.
And go back to your app when you're ready. When I see your app, I'll come back to you.
Okay. I thought I had shared my screen. Hold on. Let me hit it again.
So one of the fun things about Brian, there's me. One of the fun things about Brian is probably, you know, about 1.5 feet shorter than I am. So in order for him to be on camera with me here in this studio, we actually had a bunch of stuff. He was standing on a stack of mats, like 1.5 feet of mats, so he could be as tall as me for the videos. So a little behind the scenes for everyone.
I love this tunnel vision here. We are looking into the tunnel of Sue's Google page.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening there.
And then flip over to the browser after you've done that. There you go. There you go. Now we're seeing. Well, for a second ago we were seeing it.
Okay, so right, but I'm going to show my. How do I
So you may have to. Can you put it in one of the other tabs? So or that tab. That's fine too.
I don't know how to access my app from the desktop. See, I'm learning already.
Oh, web.powerapps.com is one way. Or you could have bounced it back. Either way. Yep. And then you'll get to all your apps. Right. Most people, when they're new, they start with powerapps.microsoft.com and hit sign in. But I can go to my home.
Yeah. Okay. So get my apps.
Yes.
I'm excited. Let's do this, Sue.
So we have 3 different websites for the Power Platform family: Power BI User Group, PowerApps User Group, and Flow User Group. And I was concerned about going to Power Summit and speaking to people and them asking me, do you have a user group in this area? And I didn't want to have to flip between 3 different websites. To me, that would take time, and it didn't seem like a very cool experience. So as you can see, Shane, I've updated it so it doesn't have, and Daniel, it doesn't have those ugly blue buttons anymore. On site at Power Summit, it was hurting a little bit. So here's my opening screen. And then, so I would click on all Power Platform user groups. And this is a listing now of every Power Platform user group that we have. And if someone comes up to me and says, hey, Sue, you have something in Chicago? I can just type in Chicago, hit return, and it's going to search for me.
Fine. And I think that's a good idea. So it's like you're giving yourself a handy tool that you could use on your phone to find things, based on whatever field you're searching in. Yeah.
So this actually works on my phone. I'm not sure why it's not working on my app here, but I've never really looked at the app in the desktop. So this does work on my phone though. It was very
we believe you. Don't worry.
Right. So say someone says, San Diego, and I'm like, yep, I got San Diego right here. I can pull up oh man, what's going on here? Hold on. Let me head over to this one. I was playing with it the other night, so I'm going to jump over to my Power BI button.
Change the colors.
My data.
That's kind of cool.
All right, so here I am. I'll go to the Power BI button because I know I didn't mess with that one. And someone says, hey, what's going on? What do you have in each area? Let me try hitting oh, there we go.
Yay!
So I type in Chicago. I got 2 user groups in Chicago. And the person says, wow, I really want to get in touch with that leader there. All right, well, this one looks like it might be a good one. I click here. I've got Chicago, the city, the state. Here's the username of the leader, and here's the short link. So I can just tell the person, pull up their phone, go directly to this user group URL, and they can join right there. Or even better, thanks to Shane, I can type right here an email address, put it in, and say, oh, give me your email address. Let me just send you the link right in the email. And I type it in.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
It's gone. So I've been playing with it a little bit, which is why some of the buttons, and I've been updating my data and my tables and stuff, but I got my Power Apps list here in case somebody knows.
Showing this too. That is just awesome. I love that you can change the colors too. Like the Power BI has a different color than Power Apps and Flow to match our products.
Yep. So I attended Daniel's session on site as well for visualizations. And just
where was that? Where was that? The one for Daniel that Daniel had. I gotta go look that one up.
He went to one
Power Summit.
Power Summit. It was a really good session about visualizations and really upping your game for how your app looks, which you can see my app needs a little bit of love still, but I'm working on it in between different things and just loving the environment.
It's a process. Thank you, Shane, for having her show that as well. We took a little bit of Shane's time, but we'll catch up. Thank you, Sue. That's awesome.
Good job.
Yeah, Sue, thank you very much. I can't tell you how happy things like this make me, right? When I see someone like yourself who, a year ago before Power Apps, right, you had no earthly business trying to do something like this. And all of a sudden now you're like, man, I feel empowered and I can just hop in there and make it. And it's making your life and your team's life better. And I mean, it literally just makes my heart grow 3 sizes, right? I'm like the Grinch.
That's awesome.
So thank you. So Daniel,
Shane,
I'm sorry.
What do you have to show us? We're just dying to see what you've done.
Well, I decided to let Daniel go first. We flipped a coin. I won, and I deferred. So he gets to go.
Okay.
Well, actually, I was going to let Shane do that first because if looking at him, I would wake them up. But okay, I'll do it first. So if anybody, hey, my name is Daniel Christian. I'm an MVP. It's always a pleasure to be with Audrie. Because believe it or not, Audrie was the one who invited me to be an MVP. And, this is how I became the MVP. So before I actually jump into the app itself, I want to actually show you a couple of other things. And Sue, this is actually the same content or similar to the content that I covered back in the MVP Summit. Is because one thing that I really like to do is I focus on the user interface and the user experience. I try to make these apps look really nice. So, that's basically what I want to do is kind of show you little bits and pieces over here. And then I'll jump into, the main big app, which is for the Lego Mixels for all the Lego fans on this call. And then you can actually see how these bits and pieces, make that whole app look so good. So this is one of the first things which I always talk about is, putting in buttons and, making the buttons look a little bit nicer. Sue, you might actually find this very interesting that, by default, I go ahead and put in this one button and this is what the button looks like, right? It's nothing too big or fancy. This is what the button looks like. There's a couple of things you can do to actually make that button look a little nicer. One of the first things I do is if you go to the right side over here, you see that thing that says border radius. You can and change that entire thing to say 100. Now, after you've done that, you can make sure that the width and the height match. So I have, say, 300 over here on the width. I have 300. And automatically over here,
nice.
Moves things around. There you go. You have your own
round button. Whoa!
Nice.
Never done it, Daniel. I gotta try that. Love it.
I mean, I kind of like that. The square is just a square, but the circle is a nice circle. I can always digress, but that's let me just not stop here because when I was talking about the next thing, which is about the border radius, I actually met two categories of people. When I showed that, hey, this is how you take off the radius, people like that. And then when I said, hey, this is how you add the radius, again, people didn't like that. So I said, I'm going to just show both, and then you guys can decide what you like. I personally go ahead and remove the radius because that's what makes the button actually almost seamless to the background. If you're like me, then the other thing you want to do is go ahead and in the border radius, by default, you see it as 2. You do two things. You go ahead and change that as 0. And this one, you change that as none. And now if I zoom in, you'll actually see the difference over here. See, you see it kind of actually blends in a little bit. And
that is awesome.
If you take that away and if you put that solid line back, you kind of see that over here.
It's fading, like it yeah.
Exactly. But if you're, eccentric,
illusions, right? Yeah.
If you want a really bigger border, then after that, you will actually see this over here.
Oh, nice.
And that kind of gives it a good as well.
Cool. It looks like a flick. The little thing that we use to do the flows. It looks like the flick now. It's awesome.
Exactly. All on that. So I kind of, this is one of those things which can actually take the user in.
I love flicks. Shane got his flick. Oh, he was showing it. Shane had his flick.
There we go.
To the next experience on that. So let's kind of move forward. The next thing I wanted to show was in the app itself over here. So one of the things is you can actually play around with the width and the height and make the app, make your controls a little bit more fun. So in the first section, I'm going to show it to you with just the manual interaction over there so you can see what's going on. So what I have over here is a very small rectangle icon, but I'm going to play around with its width and height using this slider over here. So watch, right now I'm just going to increase the width. And you see how that works around over here? So
that's awesome.
I can go ahead and make the height as well.
Oh, nice.
You can actually.
I love sliders. They are just the most fun to me. I love them.
So yeah, I personally like it, but I want to kind of show all this because it's building on to the app that I've actually made. Because it's good to have this kind of knowledge. Go ahead and take it, to those UI and the UX apps that I like to build. So now that you've seen me with the manual slider over here, same thing. We did the width and the height. I want to do the exact same thing with the X and the Y. So I put the happy face over here, and now I can move the whole thing around again on the X and the Y coordinates. And then now that you've seen both, me playing with the width and the height and me playing with the X and the Y, watch. Now I can automate the process by using timers, which means, again, it's automated. There's no, previously I did the manual interactions. Now I'm going to do the automated ones with the timer. So if I just click on the button, the width grows. If I click on the other button.
Whoa, animation.
Cool.
I got to ping Brian. He would love this. This is awesome.
It's just playing around with all these controls out of the box. And key thing, there's no code involved over here. I didn't have to do any JavaScripting, no CSS or anything. These are all out of the box controllers which were available just using a simple concept of variables. And that's basically how it worked. So now that I was able to go ahead and use the combination of the X and the Y and the width and the height, and in the previous one you saw I was able to use the timers, with the buttons itself, I was kind of wanting to show you that when I click on the top button, you see this drop down happens over here. That's because when I did a button, it actually changed a variable. That variable increased the height over here, and that increased based on the timer value. Same thing happens over here. Again, when you do the buttons, the timer helps. The variable goes ahead and now says, yeah, you can. It's set to true, so I mean I can go ahead and now increase this guy's height again based on the two examples I showed over there. But just to give you a little bit more, take you to the next step, try to make it dynamic. And when I say dynamic, instead of actually having, values, a static value in your Y and an X, make it dynamic. Because in this case, this value of this location is actually completely dependent on the Y coordinate of the button over there, plus the height of the button. That's what makes it dynamic. So now thanks to dynamics, it doesn't really care what's happening. Because if I go ahead and drop this guy, see how it stays over there? It's very dynamic. And so that's what I like about the whole UI interface over there, is because not only can I do these fun things with the buttons, can I do the fun things with the X and the Y coordinates or the height and the width, but when I go ahead and actually take out all these static numbers for the X or the Y and I make it dynamic, which is interdependent on each other, you really get something neat over here.
I could think of 1,000 ways to use that, Daniel. Maybe help messages in a form, or maybe showing user information based on the user you selected. Or, I could think of a ton of things we could do with that. That is just awesome. And I love the smoothness of it. Go, Daniel. Absolutely. This is awesome. I'm going to go try that. I've never done that.
Okay, so now that you've seen how I was able to do all of that, I'm actually going to demo where I can take all that and build an app like this. Now, Lego fans are going to love this. This was part of a series called as Lego Mixels, which existed at one time. And this is, if you see the app open up, you saw how the way it was going. Again, that's all based with the X and the Y coordinates and the width and the height. This is the app that I had built. Some of you guys may have seen this as well. It's the Lego Mixels app. So, go through a scenario where you go to now a Lego store, and instead of going ahead and, obviously go and play with them, Lego pieces, but you can now directly see all the Lego parts or the Lego series for the Mixels in this case directly on this app. I'm going to pause over here for a second and just show that all the information that you see over here in this scenario is coming from a SharePoint site. So all the information of the Lego pieces is actually just coming in from this Lego list over here. In the list, I've gotten all the categories, the subcategories, and all the other things along with it. And then the images are actually just URLs that I've added over here. Now, I've put it in a SharePoint list. You could put that Excel spreadsheet sitting in OneDrive. It could be on your Azure SQL over there, wherever, whatever makes it comfortable for you. For the sake of this demo, I just put it on SharePoint Online. So one of the things now, as I go and show you, let's see how I was able to get all those things I just showed you and put it over here. So this is the way the app opens up. And the reason I intentionally made this app open up with this half screen over here is to actually tell the end users that, hey, not only is this the main screen that you see, but there's something else behind it as well. That process to actually show only half of it in the front. Same thing with the settings. When I go ahead and click on the settings, it actually slides down to tell the end user that, hey, there is actually this other piece as well. Now, what I can do is that all of these are different galleries. So the top ones just shows you the series of the galleries. So when I click on that over there, that gallery filters this gallery over here. When I click on the button, the selections over here, this one updates these views over here with all the controls. So if I can go ahead and slide, I can go ahead and check on the other gallery based on what I select over here. This one gets updated. I select that. The value gets updated. But you know what? As a store manager, I just heard that there's this new section, Lego piece come out. It's the latest version. But I'm a little concerned about the cost because that might alarm a few people. So I'm going to now go ahead and go back to the settings over here, and I'm going to hide the cost. One of the reasons I wanted to show this to you guys is to see that, you know what, this is just not images and screenshots just put over there. These are actually controls which are all interdependent on each other. So watch, when I click on this hide cost over here, watch what happens. That goes in and gets hidden.
That's cool.
You're the best. You're the best, Daniel. Whoa, love it. You're the best. Seriously, I can't help it. I'm serious.
Looks like Shane's got something queued up.
Brian too. Both of these animations I never do. Yeah.
And then finally, the same thing too is over here. I can go ahead and select any one of them, and that just filters off all the galleries over here. So that way, as a store manager, I can tell when the customers come in, I just want them to focus on this new version that's come out on this app, and then that's basically, what happens. I can go back over here, I can filter it off, and then that gallery all goes ahead and gets updated. And then finally, you know what? The red color is good, but I'm going to go ahead and make it look blue, or I can make it look green. And that's the beauty of using variables, because now all of the colors and everything are not static, blues or static greens. They're actually all tied to this variable over here. And based on the mood or based on the season, you can go ahead and change, and all of it just works.
Awesome.
That is awesome. You have a video talking about these things and how you do them?
One of the things I was going to say was that the vertical menus and everything, there's actually a blog that I've provided. It's in our here. And
nice, already out there.
Explaining the blog, one of the things I've also done is, if you go, I've attached the app as well, which means I've uploaded the app. You can actually go download that app, and you will get to play and see exactly how those controls work and everything. And you have a copy of it over there.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you.
Oh, Shane, you think you can do any better than that?
I'm sorry, I fell asleep for a while. I'm sorry. Did you show something? I was kind of sleeping. So, all right. Well, fine. If you want me to one up you, I can do that. So let's go over here to. Why don't you stop sharing? Share the screen, Daniel. Let me share.
You should be able to share now, Shane. Little green thing on the left there.
Yep, there we go. Okay, so while Daniel, can't do anything functional, he likes to just make all of these fancy, rounded corners and things like that. I prefer to concentrate a little more on actual functional things. So what I wanted to show is my first functional, useful app, if you will, is an expense report one, right? This is one of those ones that Audrey and I get beat up on a lot of times. Like people are like, hey, I need this thing to do this stuff that InfoPath did. So I sit down and spend a lot of time to come up with an expense report app that is very InfoPath-esque. So create a new expense. And so what this is going to do is this is going to, up here at the top, these top 3 lines, this is a form that's going to create a master record inside of a SharePoint list, right? So expense is making Daniel look silly. So then when did I do that? That's going to be today. And what type of expenses? Is definitely wasteful expenses. But so what did I need? Well, first I needed a glass of tea. And so that's going to cost us probably $3 in today's world. And so then we're going to hit save. And so this, okay, so up here, this top line, this is a form. This down here is actually a gallery. So when I say get glass of tea, expense cost $3, and I click my little save button, ooh, not only does it save this item, it updated the total expense in the form, right? In a different control, it updated the total expense, and it added a new blank item. So I could say, a cookie. Like, it doesn't take more than just a little bit of caffeine to get me past Daniel. And so then we say save here, right? Now that's 5. So this is how I solved the whole repeating table example that people struggled with.
Love it. Love
You'll
it.
also see here, I'm out of ideas of things I needed for Daniel. So air, and it costs nothing. But notice when I got in here, and so right now I have this line, right? It says, hey, you've got unsaved changes. So it's the button down here is disabled. I can't save the thing because it's disabled. If I save, okay, I can now save.
Oh, now it's there.
I can go up here though, and maybe we want to say, you know what, air is really expensive. So I'm gonna say edit, and air costs $100. And then as soon as we click out of there, right, hey, you got stuff to save first. So we hit save. So then now we've created an expense item. And so this top, this is a form, goes into a master record. Then these 3 are dynamic. They're going into a separate table that are just referencing the ID of this one. So when we say save, boom, it is done. So then now we can go over here and view and edit my expenses. And there is my making Daniel look silly. When you click on this guy, then you will see the line items, right? And so this is one gallery. And what happened is this gallery is only visible after this gallery has been clicked. And then this gallery is filtering that other list based on this data. And then we can even say, hey, I want to edit the air because you're right, air really was free. So we'll go down here. We'll say make that 0. And there's a delete button that's kind of hidden right here, but we'll say save. Not only is this going to update this record, but it also updated the master record. So we tied all the data back.
So you've mastered relationships here, Shane, because I see a couple of relationships here, right?
Yes. I spent lots of time mastering relationships here.
One thing I liked, Shane, is that when you were adding the record for the first time, to make me look silly, but what I really liked over there is when you were adding it, you kind of disable that save button on the bottom, because that, as app builders, it is our responsibility to make the app as usable as possible and try not to make, by the end user who's submitting the data, they need to kind of see the flow of the app. So when you are adding it, the end user knows that, oh, I have to save it because the actual system is grayed out. And
yes.
I do, compliment you, which is rare. I do compliment that you've added that functionality in the app, because as app builders, that is our responsibility. So I think this is the first time in my entire life I've given kudos to Shane.
Yeah,
so
I'm
Shane,
certain.
Can you please be nice to Daniel now? Okay, we want to make sure all of our MVPs are treated well.
All right, fine. I'll try to be nice to Daniel. So I wanted to show you guys this because I wanted to get back to my simple designs but functional, but just to prove that I can also do pretty and that I can show off, and I won't tell you who I'm making fun of as I show off. What I'm going to do now is we're going to pop open this little critter. And I'm going to share my phone so you can see this app from my phone. That's right, because I love you more than Daniel. This is actually my phone in my hand that I'm now sharing with you.
Nice.
Oh, you go. That's very cool.
So this is my Tesla app. And so with the Tesla app, I needed an excuse to learn. I needed an excuse to learn about APIs. And so what I found out was that the Tesla had an API, and my wife was kind enough to buy me one for my 40th birthday. So I built an app to do this. So when I click connect here, this is my username and password for Tesla. So I'm sending my authentication information over to our friends at Tesla. They're returning me an authorization token. And then what's happening is we're coming in here and opening up the app. This is actually fetching all the data directly from my car. So you can see my car's name, the miles. It's currently almost 80 degrees inside my car because I forgot to turn off the air conditioner after I did the last demo. That's a true story. So the outside, it's 52 degrees. So my car, at least it's warm if I go get inside. But, you can see the charging state. I can also then run and do functions like unlock the car. So if I want to, unlock the doors, I press that button, boom, unlocked. I can start the car, which will, I can drive it without the key just with this Power App that I wrote. And then I can turn on the AC. I've never put a button for turn off AC. I wish I did. I can also then go over here to this screen, and this is not pretty yet, but this is one for scheduling when the AC turns on. So if I want to have it nice and warm when I get in the car at 7 a.m., I can just tell it ahead of time to turn on at 6:30 so it preheats. But
that's cool.
This is an example of an app, so we'll stop sharing this way, where I needed to learn how to work with APIs. And what I ended up needing to do really was not only work with APIs, because we're going to be honest, right? PowerApps isn't always the friendliest environment for setting these things up. I'm not a developer. I can't write code. But what I do with this is I'm actually going to go over and run a flow. So I'm letting flow do all of the weird API calls and transforming the data. And then flow is just returning the data to my Power App. So that then over here, my Power App, right, the car's name is just the variable Tesla data.response.display name. And the var Tesla data, that is just coming out of a flow that I wrote over here. This flow that goes out to flow, or it goes out to the web API and pulls data back. Once again, I'm not a developer, but what I found was someone had documented this was the call. So I just grabbed their code, pasted it in here, and then I filled in the blanks with dynamic flow content for the email and password so that I was able to pass that information back and forth. So no code required, just cutting and pasting. And I was able to write an app to start and drive my fancy little car and show Daniel that I could make a pretty app. So
That's awesome.
That is nice. Man, a long
So
way.
don't you agree they both were awesome?
Yeah,
Yes.
long way. I think
Yes.
Thank you, Shane. That was awesome.
very welcome. All right.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap this baby up. You guys have all been awesome. Sue, thank you for providing the platform for all of the leaders to come together and kind of get together and make this an enabler for the world. Thank you so much. Daniel and Shane, the PowerApps team, the entire PowerApps team is always talking about you and very grateful for what you're doing. Thank you so much. Guys, reach out to Daniel and Shane. They're MVPs, which means they're unselfishly always trying to help others, right? And so please reach out to them. They're both awesome. Sue's awesome with her new app. I'm going to call them all back again. Sue will show you her 50th app as well.
On it.
And we'll do this all over again. Okay, so thank you again. Leave your comments below. If I have to hit you up later, I will. We ran out of time, and YouTube is kind of picky. If I don't stop on time, I can't do any posting and updates to the video. So thank you all. You're all awesome. Everybody on the line too. Tell your friends about it, like it, share it, let everybody know about this video, and have them reach out to Shane and Daniel and Sue if they need help. You guys have a great week, and I'll be talking to you soon when I get back to Seattle. Guys, happy power apping.